Hello, my name is Michal Yakir, and I've been a homeopath for over 30 years. I would like to introduce to you the table of plants, which is an approach to homeopathy. It's not a system, it's an approach which facilitates using any data and any system that we use in homeopathy. I'm myself a very classical homeopath, but I've seen people who are using Shankaran method or any other method using it just as well and benefiting from it because it's a way of looking at our data. It's not a system. I've been a botanist in my long past and ecologist, and I think this influenced my approach to homeopathy because the minute I learned that there are that there is importance to the mineral table, that it has a meaning, then I thought, oh, well, plants has order as well, so it must has a meaning as well. And it took me quite, I think, almost 10 years to understand how it all works, and another 17 years to slowly develop it into a very comprehensive outlook on homeopathy and life at all. I've done my first degree. My BA was in botany, my MA was in ecology, and my PhD was actually in the medical school in Jerusalem, where I've done a research on the efficacy of homeopathy in women problem. But after that, I think what really attracted me was plants, which is the case to these days. Once I've developed the table of plants, I wrote it in Hebrew, of course. I'm from Israel, and it took me, as I said, few years, quite long years to write it, then rewrite it. And before the English book has arrived, I've finished the 9th edition. So the English book is the 9th edition. And I've started with a book which was 80 pages and ended in Hebrew in 450 pages. And in English, it's almost 800 book. It's a heavy book. Now, as I said, the table of plants is not a system. It is an approach to homeopathy which says there is a meaning to everything that the patients say, and it let me use everything he says as I'm using a system, as a symptom. So if a person is telling me that he has been avoiding relationship with women all his life, this should be a symptom, just as craving oranges, for at least. Or if a woman tells me that she's married the 3rd time, and every time she's marrying an abusive partner, this is a symptom. Or as you hear a lot, I have so many issues with my mother, my family. This is a symptom, or it lets us understand what is happening in the case, and I want to use it. And also when I'm, let's say, I got a symptom like certain back pain that the plant remedy has, and the whole store, and I'm thinking bambusa. And then I realized that bambusa is from the 4th column in the table. That means that it will have some qualities that will lend me a better understanding of the case. I will know that for sure this woman is carrying too much on her back emotionally. She's carrying, and she's unable to give responsibility to other people. And this will be an extra information that not only will confirm my choice, it will help me to understand what needs to be cured, because not only the back pain should go away, but also this tendency to extra responsibility should be minimized to a level which is to a healthy level. And in this way, if you know where you are in the table, then that means that you know where you're coming from and where do you want to go. You know what are the problem of the table, and you also know what needs to be cured, and also what you even know what will be the gift of this column. What are you expecting to come up now that the patient is better? There will be some things which will be expected, and they will come. Like if I'm giving a remedy from column 4, then I'm expecting that the family relation will improve. And then they just tell me, I don't know, suddenly I have a better relationship with my mother. Yes, I'm expecting it. But in column 6, that will not be the outcome. There should be another outcome in column 6 of relationship with the world, relationship within their self, with the different aspect of themselves. So this is, in that way, the table gives us understanding of what we do, no matter how we arrived at the remedy. So let us take a brief introduction into the table. What is the table? What do we expect? How would it look? So I will share with you my screen. It'll take a minute, sorry. Computers. So for me, one of the first things to understand is that we evolve, we change. This is what man is supposed to be. This is what humanity is supposed to be, to grow. So, and this evolutionary movement is mostly seen in plants. You know that plants, from the moment that they are sprouting, they continue to grow. They never stop growing. In our body, there is only one part which never stop growing, and this is our nails. Even the hair falls after a few years. The hair falls, but nails grow. But plants continue to grow, even minimally, but it continued to grow all its life. And more than that, plants has pushed the evolution of Earth. They have created oxygen, they have allowed animals to leave the sea, they have been the base of the pyramid, the food pyramid, and to this day, they are all the time moving and changing the biosphere. So plants are the best to look at issues which are regarding to human evolution. So that's why I've seen that I can use evolutionary terms when I'm looking at plants. Another things to know about plants is that you can actually order them botanically. That's not something which I invented. You can order them in an evolutionary order, which means that I can use this naturally order to and correlate it to human evolution, which was really nice. I can order plants from the most primitive to the most evolved, and put the evolutionary order of men upon it. And when I actually organize the materia medica in this way, what I get is like a book. Because if you read, let's say, the materia medica of pulsatilla, then we get a story. If you put all the remedies that belong to the pulsatilla family, the aconite and the staphysagria and the berberis, you put them together, and then you put next to them all the remedies from an adjacent family, let's say the Asarum family and the Nymphaeales family, and you put all them as one after another, and then you go to the next column and you put other families and all the materia medica, and then suddenly you get a book that opens up and tell us a story that we cannot get it from one remedy. But when we put all the remedies together, we get a book. That's the book. So, but it's a book which can be in our mind when we give a remedy. Say, this is this part of the book, so I know the whole story, where it came from and where it is going. And this will allow me to understand the crossroads that man is going through, and the development imbalance that can happen along these crossroads. And this is actually the disease that we encounter. This is only a quick introduction, but if you look at plants, you have the gymnosperms, which are very old plants, and you have the angiosperms, which are the seed plants, and they are the basic of our table. Those are the seed plants, and they are divided to dicotyledon and monocotyledon. And because you have two axes can always create a table. And this is the table. I hope you could see it. This is this table, the dicotyledon and the monocotyledon, which are placed upon each other. Again, the time is very short, so I cannot tell you more about it, but it's in the book, and it will be in our lectures. And this table has 6 columns, or maximum 6 columns, and those columns describe a process of evolution along the column and in every column. That's why we have 2 axes. And those 6 columns are actually depicting a journey. A journey which is using the human tool for evolution. And this human tool is the ego. So it's the journey of the evolution of the ego, which is developing from a very merged state, from almost non-existent state, and slowly it built border, and it supported in the family, by the family, and then outside of the family, open itself to the world, acquiring strength, acquiring stature, and acquiring awareness. And all of it enable it for the process of development of love. Love and consciousness are the 2 elements which power our process of evolution. So the table of plant is a journey which is manifest in every column. So whenever you're giving a remedy, a plant remedy, you're aiding this person in his evolutionary path. And now the journey is actually powered by the two main force, which is yin and yang, or the masculine and feminine quality. And in the first column, we'll see a very feminine quality, and a quality which is able to receive, to be a tool for the affluence of creation. And in the first column, we are building the ego. And then in the second column, we will create borders. In the third, we will create a distinct separation. In the fourth, we'll try to be in balance between the feminine and the masculine. We will try to be in balance in ourselves between giving and receiving. And and from now on, in the fifth and sixth, we will leave the emotion aspect on the side and let the mind be the leading force in the evolution until we get in the end of the table to our time. So you will see that man evolution actually parallel humanity evolution, which was for me one of the most exciting things to find out that this all evolution is actually a process of which is like a fractal, which repeats itself in my personal evolution, in my body evolution, from young age, from before life to young age, from babyhood to the end to old age. It's a process of emotional progress along the column. It's a process even of the chakras in my body. Every column is like another equivalent to another chakra. And it's a process which also can be seen in the evolution, in the epochs of humanity, from the Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, the Roman and Greek age, the Middle Age, and from the Renaissance to our time. All these and even the 7 days of creation, because actually the most exciting thing was to realize that this is an octave, a 7-day octave. This was beautiful to see, but I'm telling you, it took me years and years to realize it. So it was kind of a building process that I understood a little bit, and then more and then more. So don't despair. It takes time to see it, but once you do, it's an unimaginary tool in our work. So the feminine quality, which is seen in the beginning of the table in the first column, is a quality which is an emotional quality, which is able to accept, to sense. It is related to love and to emotions, and it is more a round quality. It's the feminine quality, while the masculine is more a line. It's I would say that the feminine is the natrum or the moriaticum, and the masculine is the carbon. And the masculine gives shape and border. It helped, and thus it helped develop the awareness. So both qualities, love and awareness, are being developed by this yin and yang process of the masculine and the feminine, which are very important qualities, but also very practical. Because the first column, you would see that the people that are come to you are more feminine, while in the sixth and fifth and sixth column, people will be more masculine, men and women. So it could be even very practical. Just as the ego in column 1 and 2, the ego is weak. While in column 5 and 6, the ego is very strong. From childhood, naturally, they have a very strong ego. Column 1, you have remedies like pulsatilla, easily influenced. The ego is not strong yet. So those are things that you realize when the person is talking to you, but oftentimes before that, we didn't have what to do with this information. Now we have. So let's look a little bit more at the columns. Column 1, we are just beginning. The ego is just beginning. There is no ego yet. The people that comes to you has no ego. They are easily influenced. Everything penetrates them. Oftentimes they say, I have no skin, because they're so sensitive, because there is no ego to protect them. They're not separated from oneness yet. The remedy like lotus is there. Very feminine quality, but it's like water. There's nothing to contain it yet. We are building the tool for the ego. We are building a container, but in column 1, we're just building it, so it is missing as a pathology. So people will often say, I have no borders. They will come to you and they will immediately look at your computer. What do you have there? Oh, what are you writing? Write that. They don't even notice that they cross your border. And other people are crossing their borders. They don't know oftentimes they don't know how to say no to people. The ego is naive. People are oftentimes naive. Something is very simple. They're not separate yet. No borders. And therefore there is no order in their life, oftentimes very chaotic. Children losing things all the time. The mother is saying, I just bought him a pencil. The day after, it's gone. Oh, I forgot it. Also the new coat. They don't remember, because there is no border yet for the ego. So oftentimes the teacher will say, he's spacing out. And it's Ritalin, of course. But when they grow up, they oftentimes grow up dependent, weak. Yet, so you oftentimes see a lot of confusion and instability in the case. Again, like we see in pulsatilla, emotions and desires are raw, like in the people metisticum. But, and they have no boundaries, no protection. They're very sensitive people because they sense everything. Oftentimes they have clairvoyance. Yet they're very creative. The affluence is just going through them. And they're creative people, artistic, they can invent things. They have a direct connection. The problem is that, they can say, oh, Father, I need money. And they will get it. What's the problem? They have no vessel to hold it. So like water, in a year, nothing is left. But they will often say, yeah, I'm just asking directly. Or they could be very innovative and they create unimaginable things. But then when they need to market it, there comes the problem, how to do that. Oftentimes, they're very vulnerable, so their only solution is escapism. And this they can do with drugs, but also with reading, with computers, with phone, anything that take your attention from reality. So they tend to be addict. Or in later stage, in the later rows, the more adult rows, they will go for over control because they know that everything is so fluid. So they will try to control it. In human time, it's starting, we don't know when, maybe 150,000 years ago, or maybe 70. We don't know where it started, but this is the prehistory, the stone age of human being. There is no time yet. Oftentimes, by the way, they will come late to your clinic. Man is one with God. The spiritual impulse that will come out of it is shamanism. You talk directly with the element. So the ego is still weak, so it needs to build itself. And this will lead us to column 2. Column 2, the hammermelids, start with the cannabis indica and urtica and ends with the great trees, the great oak and other nut trees. So it's about building your strength from scratch. In the beginning, you start with a very drug quality. Do I want to live the oneness, or do I want to be here? Do I want to be separate, or maybe I want to go back? So you try to create borders, but oftentimes you're not sure which side of the border are you, here or there, here or there. That's why column 2, I call them here or there. And oftentimes that will be a very strong quality in the case. But the person doesn't know, do I belong to this country or do I belong to this country? Should I go with my mother or should I go with my father? Should I do that or that? He's constantly, as we say, sitting on the fence. He doesn't know what to decide, that or that, that or that. It's like an inner quality. And you have just separated from the oneness. You try to set borders. That means you try to collect your strength. You try to be strong, but you need to put so much energy in that. Still a feminine quality. But there is tiny bit of masculinity dripping in and allowing borders in this water, chaotic water. So the question is, should I stay small but be united with this great oneness, or should I separate and then I will be really small? When I'm with the oneness, I can perceive myself as big. But when I'm separated, I know I'm small because I've just started. So small or big, or pretending to be big, putting huge amount of energy into trying to be big, but not succeeding. So this is a Sisyphean efforts. But with these efforts, we start to put borders. Oftentimes you'll see that people from this, the most important thing for people in this column 2 is to set borders, to set boundaries to friends, to people, in any way possible. In this begins the construction of the mind and the consciousness. The ego started its journey. Actually, the ego really started journey here. And in human time, this is the beginning of agriculture. It's the time that from nomads, from hunter-gatherers, we became farmers. We have domesticated the wheat, the maize, rye, and other plants, which gave us a lot of security, but made us also slave to work. And with agriculture, we settled down. We started to build walls around us. Cities became to grow. More borders, soldiers to keep them up, and all this was necessary. But it's a milestone in human evolution. From this time on, we start to manipulate Earth. Before that, we were sons and daughters of Earth. To this day, the Aboriginal person man in Australia will say, when he's hungry, before he goes to hunt, he will just say, "Mother, I'm hungry." And now it's her job to provide him with a good hunt. But in column 2, we manipulate Earth. We irrigate it, we fertilize it. We want it to give us more than it usually gives. And then later on, we start to pray for it and offer all kinds of donations and try to bribe Earth and bribe gods of Earth to to give us good crops. And from this moment on, there is a separation between God and man. So the polytheism begins here. And we see it in the Hindu and in the Hindu lore and other lore, the Persian lore, and we see I would say a correcting impulse in China, the yin and yang impulse, which says yes, there is duality, but it's part of one. It explains the borders. It gives it meaning as part of the one. And this will lead us to the third column, next stage of the evolution of man. Second column is the Bronze Age. The third column is the Iron Age. The feminine aspect, which still dominate, start to suffocate because it doesn't really let us separate. So there is a huge, intense fight for separating. The illusion I am under superhuman control. So the plants that can be seen here are mostly cactuses, desert plants, bog plants, plants that grow in very difficult places. The cactuses. And they can withstand extreme condition. They are the heroes of plants. And indeed, in column 3, we meet the hero. We meet a heroic effort on our part to separate. So it's either I'm huge, I'm a dragon-like, or you'll see people that have a dragon-like people in their life. And that means that the element, the dragon is a mythical feminine element. And there is a lot to be told about it. I can't explain it in this short introduction, but the hero is fighting the feminine dragon element. And in order to become a significant force in the world, significant by my own right, not because of my mother. And now the ego feels that it has to separate from this smothering embrace of the feminine element, the dragon, the symbolic dragon, which can be, in this case, a dominant mother, a dominant teacher, a guru, but it could also be a dominant government, a dominant school, a dominant belief. Like one cactus patient told me, yeah, I know that I'm religious, but I do what I think. I do what I want to do. This is their motto. They have a strong aversion to any external influence. But in column 3, we are not really separated yet. So there is a huge polarity between the desire to separate at any price and the desire to stay united. Mother wants to stay with the child. So separate or be under superhuman control, going very up or very down. So what is being influenced is the chest area or the heart. We know a lot of the plants here has a heart affinity, but also chest affinity. You'll see that every column has an affinity for certain organs. But so in column 3, there is a fight for separation, and with the separation, the ability to choose become available. To choose what to do, to give or to take, to be that or that. Only now there is a real ability to choose in the end of column 3. And the end of column 3 is being symbolized by, it's the Iron Age, and as I said, and it is symbolized by the Judaic impulse, which talk about choice, the ability to choose between right and wrong. It's not about being under influence. It's about man has a right to choose and the ability to choose. And this will lead us to the fourth column. The fourth column, we find a lot of plants. Many of them are food plants, wheat and maize and rye and sugar, and it's a big. And many other plants which are related to finding equanimity between the masculine and the feminine, between giving too much and taking too much, between no order and border, and between being in the right mind. So in the fourth column, it's the chocolate column, and it's about separating it from the feminine quality, but not by fighting, but by in a mature way. Separate from your roots, from your mother, from your family, so that you could be your own man, your own woman. Am I able to give without being belittled, without being drained? Am I able to receive without being belittled? Am I able to give and receive and stay stable in my center? So it's about balance. If you think of sorry. Sorry, computer. So am I able to receive and give and stay stable? Think of a field of wheat, how it moves in the wind, yet it always stay connected by the roots. So in effect, we'll have a lot of symptoms which are related to giving and receiving, to the family, to relationship with the family, relationship with the mother-child relationship. Do I need to become a mother too early? Did I have a mother? Did my mother love me? Do I love her? Was I a good mother? Was I a good child? Am I ready to become a child? All those questions are answered in column 4. So people will come with those dilemmas if they need remedy from column 4. Giving and accumulating. So there will be a lot of not only fertility problem, but many issues which are related to mother and child and family relationship. And therefore to the digestive system, from our mouth to the anus, teeth, tongue, esophagus, stomach, of course, metabolic problem, up to any anal imbalance that you could have. All of it will be a very strong issues in column 4. Now, in the spiritual impulse which are related are the Buddha impulse, which came and says, leave all your material, your family, and come after me. And the Christ impulse, which says, leave your family and come after me. Those who stays with the family is not worthy of me, because the Christ prepare us for the next stage of love to the other, love which is not dependent on how much I get, to a higher level of love. But we need to go through all those stages in order to be ready for this higher level of love. And this indeed will bring us to the fourth column, to the resides, which is me and the other. How can I create relationship with anything which is other than me, other than my family? Now the masculine element take control completely. You'll see if you have the tables, that the last columns are blue. Because I just wanted us to remember this is a very strong masculine element which is dominant here. Now, and the first thing that happens is a split. The borders are totally there, but there is also a split between the feminine and the masculine. And the masculine suppresses the feminine and says, feminine is hysteric. Feminine is history, but it is hysteric. It is unreliable. We can only rely on the mind. The emotions are you cannot trust them. And the mind become rigid in column 3, in column 5. You could think of an accordion with the split and the rigid mind. Ushtox, ponium. Lot of remedies here. Of course, there is the moment there is a split, the soul, which is not splitted, yearns for coming together. So in the beginning of column 5, we have the roses. They yearn for a unification. What's the problem when you hang a rose? You get the thorns. So it's not easy to have relationship now, although there is a desire for it. The mind takes over, it's father time. So there is a lot of issues of masculine pathology, suppression, strong, dry mind that dries out very quickly, issues of flows and borders, and therefore of hierarchy. You are more, you are less, of criticism. The feminine element embraces and says to the child, you're beautiful as you are. The masculine element says, oh, you've done well, which implies that in other possibilities, I haven't done well. So maybe I'm not accepted as I am. I have to try more. We need both elements in order in order to grow. And they are needed because but the pathology will be otherness. The otherness becomes a disease in column 5. So it will interfere in relationship. If I'm separated, if there are borders, how do I make a connection with another person? Even men and women. There is a lot of issues which are related to law and work and mind and brain, but in a very rigid way. We'll see a lot of OCD here, but also rigidity of all the joints, rigidity of doing. And indeed, in column 5 is marked by the Middle Age time, by the Iron Men, the knights with this iron armor, which made everything very rigid. These Middle Ages. We're talking about 250 years after the Christ till the end of the Middle Age. This is a time which the mind has flourished, but again in a very rigid way. And we start to see religious war. Even religion, even belief become very rigid religion. If you don't do what I say, if you don't believe like I believe, you are going to die. If you are other than me, you're dead. This is actually the pathology of column 5. And you'll see that in people from column 5, the rigidity of the mind, the rigidity of belief. Although the mind is a very clever people, but there is something rigid. And we'll see, in this time we have religious war. The Crusades, the Islam, they're all here. If you're other than me, I kill you. This is the disease of the 5th column, and no wonder it is being ended in the Middle Ages by burning the women, the feminine aspect. It's now a witch. The wise woman from column 4 and 2 and 3 has now become a witch, and it is being burned by the masculine element. Kind of frightening, actually, when we think about it. And this, of course, we could not have stayed there for a long time, so we have to move to the 6th column. The Astralis time, where we meet. It's now me and the world. Do I take responsibility for the world, or do I fight against the world? Does the world threatens me, or do I see it as a possibility for growing? The ego is now complete, and it tests itself in the world. It wants to be unique in the world. I want my uniqueness to shine, and I want the world to be the background for this uniqueness. I want to have a place in the world, because the ego is great, it's big. He wants to have a place in the world. He wants to compete with others. He wants to keep this uniqueness. He doesn't want to be like everyone else. So it's the age of egocentricity. Yet the ego is so developed that it is oversensitive. It observes everything. It sees everything. So the pathology will be oversensitivity. Oversensitive children, allergic children. Life is experienced oftentimes full of pain, injury, war. Arnica is there, bellis, calendula, achillea. All those remedies are allium cepa. All those remedies are remedies of war and injury, war and peace. There is a strong issue, feeling that you're injured by the world, persecuted by the world, feeling that the world attacks my border, hurt and injure me. But I can choose now. I can choose, even though I'm in a lot of pain, I do not escape like in column 1. I take action. I take even responsibility for the world, or I have the possibility for that. Or I become very egoistic. But there is a possibility for choosing. And this is the gift of column 6. Column 6 is you can lose yourself in the crowd, and you could be unique. It starts in the Renaissance, where everything flourished, and it ends in our time, the time of individuality, but also time of egocentricity. But it's also the time that we realize that we need to take responsibility not only for our life, but for the world. If we do not take care of the global warming, our world will go to the bin. Our world can be destroyed. We have already caused the destruction of many of animals and lots of species, but we have the ability to choose. And the patient will come to you with very deep questions. What am I doing in this world? What is my destiny? It's not enough that I have a good partner and a good job and I earn money and good car and good house. It's not enough. Something is missing. And they will cry. I'm in good health, but something is missing. They will come to you. I see more and more patients that this is their issue, that their inner life has not grown and therefore they are stuck. And therefore the disease comes. And it's not about what they have done wrong. It's about something else is missing. And everything needs to be solved in column 6. You cannot escape anymore. So column 6 is more and more needed in our time. These are remedies which are more and more needed. And heralding column 7, which is not here yet. As I said, it's an octave, but it will come. And we are actually preparing the seed for the 7th column. It's ours to create. Harmony or war. Okay, so I think with it, you could understand the basic build of the table. The rows in the table are just level of maturity in the themes of every column. And those levels of maturity are, I use the analog of our growth from babyhood via adolescence, or adulthood to old age. But this is merely what it is. Level of maturity in the themes of the column. But of course, it takes more time to see what it is in practical life, but this is what it is. So I hope I gave you a general information, and we have seen that it can be a very practical tool. People who are from every system in homeopathy. I know that a lot of people are using it. A lot of people say that it helped them solve a lot of difficult cases, and more so, it helped them even understand previous cases that they had with small remedies, plant remedies, that now they can understand them and use it for other cases. Of course, in my practice, it changed a lot, but I've seen it in in a lot of colleague practice that they say, we are using more plants and we know how to use them. And it become easy. But also it gave you kind of an understanding of people, a deeper understanding of people, which is very important for the homeopath. So, thank you very much. And I hope to see you in the seminars. If you want, you could have also buy the book. The book can be, you could have the book in Narayana, but the seminars are available in Canada and many other places in the world. So I hope you will participate and hope to see you. And even if not, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.